How are you? Here for the tour? Oh, yeah. We have all-stars here. My name is Alden Ludlow, and I'm the archivist at the Wellesley Historical Society. Mainly, I do processing of the family collections and that kind of thing, but I also do, obviously, the tours. I have a lot of people to thank for this tour. Robin Gaynor is here. She did most of the legwork. Tori DeFazio is here. He knows more about Wellesley. I may be speaking out of turn, but I think he knows more about Wellesley than most people. The first of the English settlements in this area was in 1635, and of course that was the Dedham Land Grant. The Dedham Land Grant was 300 square miles, of which this north part, which was once Needham, now it's Needham and Wellesley, this north part was 5 square miles above the river, and after 1881, obviously, it became Wellesley. This area was almost entirely farming communities, with a little bit of industrial activity over near Waben Brook here, and of course up at Lower Falls there was a ton of industrial activity. That's a tour we also did. 1711 was the year Needham separated out of the Dedham Grant, and by 1732 West Needham residents did not want to support a meeting house that was not near their part of town. So the request was rejected, but the whole idea kept simmering and simmering and simmering until 1773, when the Needham meeting house burned down. And the residents, well, was it arson? We don't know. Possible, no one can say. No arrests were made. But the town meeting house was rebuilt, and West Needham resentment led them to building their own meeting house, and they set aside a new parish here, up where Village Church is now. And the revolution delayed approval of the new setting aside for the new parish until 1778, and we'll talk about the revolution and the town's role in it in a bit when we're in the cemetery. This beautiful town hall, which you can see here, was a gift to the town from Horatio Hollis Honeywell, one of the town's greatest benefactors. The town was incorporated in 1881, and construction on this was completed in 1885, and the town had 2,500 residents back then, and there are about 30,000 today. The town seal was designed by George R. Shaw, a resident and a relative of Honeywell's, and there are symbols on it. The book for the college, flowers representing Honeywell's gardens. If you've been on that tour, it's spectacular. And a tomahawk and arrows acknowledging the Native Americans whose land this had once been. And so now we want to talk a little bit about Honeywell himself, the man, because he was the benefactor of this town. He was an extraordinary man. He was a pioneer in horticulture and arboriculture, and he lived to be 92. So he lived from 1810 to 1902, pretty much spanning a huge chunk of very important history in this area. He was born in Watertown. He was the son of a doctor, Walter, who was a 6th generation New Englander. And the family's origins, of course, were in England. He was born in 1810. In 1825, his cousins in France, who were in banking, requested that he be sent over to learn the Wells family banking business and French language. And so he was 15 at the time. And what was to be a short stay where he could learn the ropes turned into pretty much him becoming part of the business and eventually a partner in the business. He stayed on there and was effectively at the age of 21 an attorney for Wells and Company at that time. You may have noticed the name Wells. This is where Wells starts, and it's Isabella Pratt Wells, who was born in Dorchester in 1812, who was also in Paris with the family. They met and they got married in Paris on Christmas Eve in 1835. So their intention was to stay there and live in France. But there was a worldwide financial crash in 1836 and 7. unsecured collateral, essentially, I think was the problem. So the family, Wells and Company family business, didn't crash. The banking business didn't crash, but it was hard hit enough that he felt he had to come home to here. So in 1839, he moved back to the United States with his wife, and they were living in Boston. And Isabella's parents, his wife's parents, owned the Wells farm in Natick, which is still there. If you're driving down Washington Street at the corner of Pond, you can see the old Wells farm. That farm would become the core of what would grow into extensive lands, the first of which grew up around the Honeywell estate area, especially the mansion house that's there off of Washington Street, which he built in 1851. In short, that estate was nicknamed Wellesley to honor his wife and family. So the name Wellesley was given to his estate long before Wellesley existed as a town. That's where it comes from. From 1840 until his death in 1902, he lived at that house, but it was a summer house until later in his life. So when he reached into his 1880s-ish, he started staying there pretty much all year. And it became his permanent residence, and he did a lot more work on it as he stayed there longer. So that estate, Wellesley, is how Wellesley Town got its name.